Highly successful individuals are always focused on what's next, but they often don't take time to reflect on their journey and how far they've come. I'm Craig Heatherly, host of the Path Less Traveled podcast, where we dive into the journeys of extraordinary leaders. Their success rarely follows a straight path, and that's what makes their story so remarkable. Now let's dive into this week's episode after a brief message from our sponsors. Looking for top talent in tech or professional fields? Avero Talent connects businesses with exceptional candidates specializing in tailored recruiting solutions that match the right skills to your team's needs. Whether you're building a team or searching for a tough-to-fill position, Avero Talent delivers the expertise you need to hire smarter, faster, and with confidence. Let us help you find your next star employee.
At Cressy Leadership, we don't just train leaders, we transform business and change lives. Employees learn to communicate around difficult challenges. Leaders build skills that create a thriving culture. Companies become healthier and more successful. We're Erin Cressy, Mickey Hay, and Anna McEachran, your expert partners, trainers, and coaches. Join the organizations already thriving with Cressy Leadership.
We just jump right into it. I'll go to my notes here.
Let's jump right in.
So, now are you looking at the screen a lot when you're talking? Or
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to the Path Less Traveled podcast. My name is Kyle Bossung, and I am here with the Path Less Traveled podcast host, Mr. Craig Heatherly. And yes, this is a little bit different setup than normally. This is season 2 of his podcast, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the guests on season 1, which, if I'm not mistaken, Craig, was I in the top 5?
You were in the top 5, and
5.
Based upon some of the guests we've had season 2, I don't know if you've secured spot 2 still. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to talk to you about that offline.
So I'm not up there anymore. Right. Well, had a few family members that logged in and watched, so I appreciate them doing that. But
a big thank you to Senior One Care for sponsoring today's episode. Founded in 2006 by Carl and Kyle Bossung, this family-owned business has provided compassionate in-home care for nearly 2 decades. If my family needed a caregiver, I'd call Kyle. With 6 Indiana locations, they give you the peace of mind while your loved ones receive the care they deserve. Learn more at senioronecare.com.
But no, so I was going to be, and I am a guest on the podcast now, but as we were talking about it, Craig and I were just having some discussions, and actually Craig had reached out to me, what was it, maybe a couple of days before we were going to shoot this podcast.
Yeah.
And I believe you said, well, Kyle, what do you want to talk about? And I said, well, I don't know.
And you asked me, what do I want to talk about?
I don't know. It was a back and forth conversation. And I think we quickly realized that we may want to postpone and figure out what we would actually talk about. So we did that. And it actually worked out because I was coming off of an illness. And I think you heard me talking on the phone. And it was, my voice was very deep, and it would not have been good podcast content. So we went back and forth, and then I kind of shot out this idea of, what if I interviewed you? You've been interviewing a number of fantastic guests, and a lot of people, I'm sure, are probably wondering, well, what makes Craig Heatherly tick? What's his background? Some people probably know it, but there's probably a good chunk of the people and the listeners that follow the podcast that may not know extensive background and history and some of your thoughts on the questions that you are asking your guests. So you and I came to an agreement, and this could go south.
It could go south,
and you might not get a lot of thumbs up emojis on this one, but
this could be my last podcast interview.
You gave the keys to me, and here we are.
You're going to flip the script on me. And I don't know how I felt about it early on. I said, you know what? Growth happens when you're really uncomfortable.
Yeah. And you're probably pretty uncomfortable right now.
The hardest part of this podcast was, what do I wear?
Yeah.
You threw me off with saying you're going to wear a baseball cap and go podcast, true podcaster style.
And I did. I usually wear sport coats. And I was teasing you. I said, I'm going to go hat, podcast hat, casual clothes. I did go white sneaker, so I feel like that's podcasty. So, but you went with your T-shirt, so I think that's very podcast.
Yeah, well, I've got 4 different outfits in my car right now in case.
Okay, so depending on what I wore, that was going to do. Okay, I got you.
Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And I lean into that quite a bit in my life.
Well, good. All right, I think maybe to start, maybe some background. Craig Catherley, the person, where were you born, what was childhood like, and then moving through. I'm not looking for you to go 15, 20 minutes with this one, but just kind of a little background in terms of when you were younger and growing up. And
Yeah. Let's do the elevator pitch of Craig Catherley's life growing up.
Yeah.
Born in Chicago Heights, Illinois. I was one of 5. My father worked in the steel industry, still does. My mother had a few different jobs growing up. We moved not all over the place, but Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin, and landed here in Mishawaka, Indiana. Went to Mishawaka High School. I was one of 5 kids. That wasn't a big family then. It's a big family now, as times have changed. Played basketball at Mishawaka High School. Earned a basketball scholarship to play out east at the University of Massachusetts Lowell. And it actually, my college decision came down to Bethel University now, or UMass Lowell. And I had actually verbally committed to Mike Lightfoot. And then I backed out of my commitment.
Yeah,
I was one of those. I was on the front lines of leading that trend.
So that's really not a commitment, right?
That's not a commitment. Okay. And so that was a hard conversation I had to have with Coach Lightfoot. Anyways, went out east, played 4 years of college basketball, and almost transferred back home every single year to Bethel University.
Yeah.
But I didn't. My support system encouraged me just to stick it out. Things weren't going the way I thought they would go.
Now, do you mean for more like playing time? Are you talking homesick?
I played a lot. I did my first game as a freshman, but I started for a really bad team. So the success that I was having, we weren't winning. We'll get into it later, but I pride myself on being a winner in a lot of facets of life. So we weren't winning, but I wanted to transfer home and be able to stick it out. This is a great learning lesson for you. And I did. I'm so happy that I did. I've got some amazing relationships from those 4 years. And then it was, what's next? What's life look like after playing college basketball? And it was, the people that have impacted me along the way were teachers and coaches. Let's just go into coaching. Earned a lot of money my first year coaching college basketball.
And where was that?
That was at Davenport University in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yeah. Full-time, $5,000. That's $380 a month. My rent was $275.
Okay. So
I was... we were
got plenty left.
A lot of disposable income. Actually, I would tell friends, if you want to go out downtown Grand Rapids, I'll go with you. You've got to pay for me to get in, and you've got to buy me a drink or two, or else I just
Grand Rapids is a cool town.
Yeah,
I love it. But with what you were clearing, probably wouldn't be as much fun.
It was tough. I was given plasma routinely.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice. And then the bridge card, which was basically food stamps, so living off that. Anyway, so that catapulted my coaching career, in which we had a lot of success at Davenport. We won a lot of games in 5 years. And I started coaching at the Division I level. I had the opportunity to go to the University of North Dakota, up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Spent 4 years up there with my wife, and it was my first shot at the D1 level. I wanted to play at the D1 level, was not good enough. So then I wanted to coach at the D1 level, and this was the opportunity. And I'll never forget telling my wife, we've got an opportunity to go up there and coach D1. Like, this is it. Mm-hmm. And she said, no. North Dakota. She said, we're not doing that. My dreams were crushed. And then the next morning she woke up and she said, let's explore it. So we had 4 great years up there. Our team in 2017 went to the NCAA tournament for the first time in school's history.
That's cool.
I'll never forget the moment, because you have to win your conference tournament to go at that level. So I'll never forget the moment in which the buzzer went off. And you don't practice saying the words, we're going dancing. But in that moment, it comes up, and you're looking at people and you're just saying that we're going dancing, and people are crying and celebrating. A moment I'll never forget. And then I got the opportunity to coach at the University of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I was there for 2 years. And then after 2 years at the University of Cincinnati, changed careers and landed at Gibson Insurance Agency here in South Bend, Indiana.
Now, when you were at Cincinnati, I went to school down there as well at Xavier, and they're a pretty big rival of each other, as you probably know. I'm not sure what years you were there, but how many times did you guys beat Xavier?
During my time there?
During your time there.
It was 2 years I was there.
Oh, you were there for 2 years? And so
0.
You didn't beat them?
No, we were 0 for 2 on that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done anything differently with the coaching that you
Well, it was COVID time.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was COVID time. And I don't know if many people remember those. We all try and forget that. So COVID years. But no, if you look at the last 10, 15 years of the Xavier Cincinnati rivalry, it's a rivalry, but Xavier's gotten them quite a bit. You do remind me of that regularly, and I appreciate that.
I don't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. I just when you said Cincinnati, it just triggered Xavier for me, and I was just kind of curious as to how that's been going over the last 15, 20 years. But you guys got a win here this last year, so
we did.
So good for you.
We did.
Good for you. Just a side question, or kind of rewinding back. When did you know that basketball, like you were good enough to potentially get into college? Was it just like when you started getting a couple of offers, or did you know early on, like freshman, sophomore year, you know what, I can play pretty well, I can shoot pretty well? Did you know right away, or did you just happen chance?
I thought, approaching the college discussion, I thought that I had very limited options, and I thought that I either had to earn a basketball scholarship to go to college, join the military to have tuition covered, or I just wouldn't go. Like, I really thought that those were my options. Kids will say I'm not doing another sport or another thing because I'm focused on specialization, right? I'm focused on this sport. And I was actually somebody that said, I'm going to focus on this sport. I'm actually going to work at it. Now, I didn't play any travel basketball. Being in the gym early in the morning, being there for weights, going to friends' houses and using their court to work out, being at Merrifield Park, that was my youth basketball. That was my travel basketball. I played against random people with random skill sets coming from random backgrounds. I don't know if my parents loved the individuals that I was playing with, but it forced me it gave me confidence. It gave me a place, an outlet away from life. And I just started seeing success, thinking that's my only opportunity to go to college. I was pretty set on making myself as good as I could to earn an opportunity. And then as I got into my junior year in high school, senior in high school, started getting more interest from colleges. Now, my high school athletic director, one thing he had me do, and I've still got it in my office at home right now, a listing of all the NCAA schools, Division I, Division II, Division III. And I wrote a letter, I believe, to most Division I schools, most Division II schools, and most Division III schools to drum up interest. I put together a flyer of who I was, and that allowed me to generate some interest. So local schools started taking notice, and I got some offers, and I got 2 offers out east, and one was at Bryant University in Rhode Island, and then one was at University of Massachusetts Lowell. Yeah.
And you think about how different that would be, putting together that highlight information and reel compared to how you could do that today versus back then. Was it just a piece of paper, a couple paragraphs, and picture of you shooting?
Yeah, an action picture of me shooting. And my goodness, it was a lot of writing, but built this tenacity of doing whatever it took to earn an opportunity, a seat at the table.
So you're at Cincinnati, and I guess walk me through the decision, because you're either at a point where you're realizing, you know what, maybe coaching might not be the path, because you've been on the coaching path, and then all of a sudden you're saying, okay, I might want to pivot here and go do something else. And then how did that decision come up in terms of what you were going to be doing?
I received the most truth in one moment that I ever had in my entire life when I was in North Dakota. I was speaking with a counselor, and I was telling him all about the things that I've overcome in life, the things that I've done in life, how I want my legacy to be. And that was, at that point in time, I want a basketball court named after me. And as I'm just like throwing up about myself in front of this guy, you could just tell he gets to the point of like, are you done? He goes, Craig, I'm sorry to break it to you, but this isn't about you. I was like, what do you mean? And he said, this life, yeah, that's great that you've overcome things. A lot of people have. It's great that you have goals. A lot of people have. But it's not about you. It's about the gift that God has given you, and that's his daughter, your bride, your wife. It's about the life that you guys are creating. Stop thinking about yourself so much. And it was in that moment that it allowed me to recognize that my greatest ministry here on this earth is through my marriage, not through my basketball coaching legacy. So when I was hit with that truth, it was a 2x4 truth across the face. That shifted my mindset to maybe this isn't my life, being a college basketball coach. So it just started stirring that up within my heart. And then as we moved to Cincinnati, it was a bunch of firsts for us. It was first time owning a home, first time being in Cincinnati, first time working at a high major basketball program. And then we were parents for the first time. At that point in time, it was just never a matter of if I was going to stop coaching. It was a matter of when. As my son was about a year and a half, my wife and I spent a lot of time heading into the 2020-2021 basketball season that fall in prayer. God, what is next for us? Some people say I prayed it, but we prayed about it routinely, and we got clarity that would be the last season. So then it was just, all right, well, what's next? So I think it started back when I was in North Dakota, and that counselor just hit me with some real truth, and it allowed us to make a change with our decision versus it being decided for us.
Well, you're talking about faith, and obviously you're a man of faith, and I guess has that always been part of the fabric of Craig Heatherly, or is that something that has maybe come about in the last, maybe after college or during college, or is that just something faith has always been very important to you? It sounds like family is very important to you.
It really is a great question. Growing up, we didn't go to church at all. I was exposed to church just through friends. I had a lot of friends' families that I considered to be my family. When my parents split up my sophomore year in high school, my mother didn't know what to do when my dad walked out. And my dad's, we got a great relationship, but at that point in my life, she didn't know what to do. And I had two younger brothers at the house with me, and my sister was in college. My brother was gone. Older brother was gone. And she took us to church. That Sunday, she took us to church, New Life Church in Osceola, Indiana, and we go there today. There was just something about it there that made me feel welcome, included, and I had friends that went there. And then that summer they have a summer church camp, and I went there, and that's when I committed my life to the Lord. I'll never forget that moment either, where I was at. I thought I had to give up everything and all my goals, all my dreams. I'm like, all right, I'm done playing basketball. I'm just going to be a Christian and follow God. And like the pastor, Michael Kramer, was like, no, you don't have to give up. You don't have to give up all this stuff. I was like, okay. I was like, God, it's okay, cool. It's all good. But that catapulted my life. And I've always I think all Christians struggle with the idea of, are you a fan or a follower? And for a good portion of my life there, I was a fan, not a true follower of Jesus Christ. And that shifted. And it's something that I constantly work on and try and keep top of mind. But it's been very important to me. It's really important to my family. If you need to find me on a Sunday, you know where I'm at. Wednesday night, I'm volunteering with Olympians, where my son goes. I'm in a small group on Friday mornings, every other Friday morning. And I wake up and I spend time doing a devotional. At night, my wife and I do a devotional together. I wear bracelets, one that says, two that have my kids have made them all, but one that says, love God, love others. And it's just finding ways to bring this up in conversations. And the way that I've been able to do that is the more present we are, the more we are where our feet are, time slows down. And I think when time slows down, you're able to learn more about somebody, be curious about them, and God shows up in those conversations. So yeah, faith's been a big part of my life. Maybe
tying along that, it sounds like you're a family man as well, and a father. And I'm sorry, how many children? One child, two child? Two.
Yep.
Okay, ages?
5.5 and 3.5.
5.5 and 3.5. And you're volunteering at the school and so forth. But tell me a little bit about how fatherhood has changed Craig Heatherly as a person and made him, well, you're not doing things you used to do now that you have kids, but
yeah. I'm not going downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan, or
asking people to buy a drink or something. Yeah. So it's changed a little bit.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, family is, very important to me. So one of the reasons why I decided to change careers back in 2021 was I knew that coaching career, it wasn't going to lend itself to a strong home. I was going to miss a lot of things within my marriage, but then also within my children. There were coaches that would have to scoot out of practice early to try and catch the second half of their kids' game. And I didn't want that for my family. I'd be overwhelmed speaking with people well ahead of me in life and just learning about how they're having success and thriving homes, thriving marriages. Their kids love being around them. And I'm like, wow, it's because they had parents or they had a dad or they had a male influence in their life that helped guide them along that path and have hard conversations with them and teach them things. And I said, what a great opportunity I have and a responsibility I've been gifted with is to be a dad, to be a husband. And I take that very seriously. So it's really important to me when I look at my boys, and if there's one thing that I'm most proud of, it's that they've got at a young age, they know more scripture than some adults. They've got Jesus in their heart and they're caring, they're kind, and I'm present with them when I'm home as a father. So quite a ride in 5.5 years, but it's something that I look forward to each and every day. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I have to be a dad and to be a husband.
Well, it sounds like you take the responsibility very seriously, and obviously your faith is very important too, and tying that into family is, I think, critically important. And it sounds like your kids are on the right path, and you're being very present in their lives. So a lot of people in you and I's shoes can probably not say that. So I think that's very commendable in terms of what you're doing and what you're building. I want to shift a little bit towards maybe the professional aspect of things. And I know you're passionate about leadership, and I love leadership as well. And I'm always of that mindset. You can always learn. So whether that's listening to podcasts, reading books, and just trying to continually get better. I guess with leadership and what it means to you in terms of the trajectory, like when did leadership become important to you? Has it always been important to you? Have you been growing into more of a leader, particularly since you've moved into this new position with Gibson? Obviously, it seems like you would have been a leader when you were a coach, but it probably a little bit different leadership in terms of a coach, and then leadership more in a professional organization like Gibson.
Yeah, it was always hard for me to be on the sideline, to take direction. And I don't mean that in a way that I can't be a strong follower, but I just always found myself in leadership opportunities and leadership positions. I wanted to be the one to stick up my hand and say, I'll try something new. Because I wanted, probably at a younger age, I wanted recognition. I really wanted people to like me. I really wanted people to follow me. I realized, man, if you just do what others aren't doing and you have success at it, people are going to follow you. People are going to like you. So at an early age, I was doing those things, and I led on basketball teams, but I was a winner, and I knew what it took for our team to have, whatever team I was a part of, whether it be high school, college, or even at Gibson, the team that I'm on, to have success. I was doing whatever it took to have success. It's never been about me. Never the best player or scored the most points, most skilled, smartest, most intelligent, most polished. I wasn't, but I found a way to win. And it was by putting in the work and showing up. So I was probably afforded the opportunity to be a leader in a lot of settings because I show up. And depending on what image you look at or what quote you read, but showing up is 80 to 90% of having success. Yeah. And I can point back to all of the different areas of my life in which I showed up routinely and consistently and brought tremendous effort. I achieved success. So when you have those ingredients, it allows you the opportunity to be considered as a leader. I know that in order to lead a great team, you've got to be able to lead yourself best. And in order to lead yourself best, you've got to know who you are, what matters to you, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and are you going to work on those things? And I do those things. I've dug into who Craig is, what's his why, what matters, what do I value? And when I show up each and every day, I know what I'm bringing to the table. So I've got a lot of confidence in myself because I've spent a lot of time digging into those areas. It's given me the opportunity to lead at Gibson in different ways. I don't lead a team at Gibson, but I've got an influence within the people that I work with. And My influence it's not necessarily at Gibson. It's in the community. It's in my home. It's within my family. It's within my friends groups and social groups. But I want to lead, and I took the Enneagram, and the Enneagram shows that I'm an achiever, and I knew that. But then I took the Working Genius, and the Working Genius shows me that you're tenacious and you're a galvanizer. So now how can I use those things about me to bring success for myself but others? Since I've dug into those areas of my life, I'm now approaching this sweet spot of really knowing who Craig is, how he shows up, and how he can best impact a setting, a team, a relationship. And yeah, that's a little bit of the history of leadership for me.
It's interesting you bring up the tests, because there are a number of different tests that you can take, and you got the Strength Finders, you got the Myers-Briggs, you got the just various ones across the board, and you mentioned a couple of them. But how do you look at those? Do you look at those with the lens of, like, I'm going to try to work on those areas like you mentioned? How much weight do you put into it? Because sometimes they may be pretty accurate, and sometimes you might look at it and say, I don't know if that's actually true. And it's probably how you're looking at that test yourself. I know there's some people that take those tests and they're like, well, there's no way that's me.
Yeah.
And then other people around the room are saying, no, that's you.
Yeah.
So how do you look at those? Do you take it with a grain of salt, or do you
know
put a lot
what?
of weight into it?
It's another really good question. You should run your own podcast.
I should. I really should. I had that four episode stint. This is getting my juices flowing again. Yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I am ready.
This is outstanding. It's a great question. If it takes me more than 5 minutes to complete, I'm probably going to put some time into the results and learning about it. What I will do with these tests is I'll have a conversation with typically my wife about them or others. A lot of the tests that I've taken, I've taken about 6 of them. They all start to lead towards the same few traits that a lot of common themes come up in them. So I tend to put a lot of stock into them. I spend a good amount of time. When I say a good amount of time, I'll review those once every couple of weeks. I've got a 1-pager on my Remarkable tablet that has all of my personality tests laid out. Mm-hmm. So I can just pull that up, look at it, and say, all right, this is how you're showing up. This is how people are perceiving you. So be careful when you walk into this setting, into this conversation, and just be aware of who you are and how you're showing up. Yeah. So quite a bit I put a lot of stock into it, actually.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I'll just tell a quick story on that. But we're a part of a home care mastermind group, if you will. And so we've been a part of it probably 10 years now. One of the first years that we were a part of it, one of the moderators, his wife actually specializes in these types of tests. And so she had given them to all of the leaders in that group that we were part of, which maybe was like 15 to 20 people. And I took it, my dad took it, and everyone took it. So she got the results back. I remember she came to me on the side and she was like, hey, Kyle, can I sit down here for a second? I'm like, okay, fine. She's like, I just have to ask you a question here. She's like, do you like your job? I'm like, what do you mean? And so she was going through the test. And I think sometimes when I'm filling those tests out, I am trying to be as honest as possible. And I think you're supposed to be as honest as possible, but I think there are ways that you can maybe answer the questions in a way that's more favorable. And so if someone says, well, do you enjoy working after hours, or do you enjoy working on Saturdays? I think I was like, well, obviously if things are going smoothly, you probably want your Saturday, don't you? Yeah. So I would say, well, yeah, I probably don't want to. Yeah, I could work on Saturday, but it's not, is it preferred? So I was answering them that way. But she's like, do you like your job? I'm like, yeah, I do. But it's interesting. But anyway, I want to get back. You mentioned just some of the habits that you you have a devotional that you're obviously part of in the morning and so forth. And I know you ask your guests that a lot too.
Yeah.
What kind of habits and routines do you have? And how long have you had a routine or a habit? And because I know you know about mine that you and I have talked about. So I have mine, but what does Craig's look like in terms of his morning routine? So, and you can tell the listeners.
I'm going to tell you this story.
They're probably wondering why you're sleeping.
Before I lean into my story, my habits. Kyle was you're my first guest on Pathless Travel Podcast. And they're like checking this thing out. Well, let's start with, let's start with this. So I think that might be a reason why you got a ton of listens.
It has nothing to do with the content.
So one of the questions, tell me about your habits. And you explained and described this really wonderful morning routine.
It was almost perfect.
This perfect
It was.
morning routine.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And when you're at your best.
When I'm at my best.
I think I was taking notes.
I think you were too.
It was profound.
I think you asked a follow-up.
And then I asked a follow-up of how that's going.
Yeah.
And I think you said it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. No. I was trying to be vulnerable, Craig. Maybe some of the listeners were saying, like, wow, I'm struggling to get into a routine myself, and Kyle's going through a tough time with this. So I don't know if it was a couple of years, but it was a little bit of time.
It was a little bit of time. It was not a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great, which has allowed us to have some really fun conversations after the fact. But my habits, if you haven't read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, you should read it. One of the things that's probably allowed me to be my best is through his idea of habit stacking. And you're going to wake up and God willing, you're going to wake up each morning and you're probably going to go to the bathroom. So along the way, what are some things that you can do as you're going to the bathroom, heading that way? And I wake up and I have 2 large glasses of water. Some would say if your bathroom's near the laundry room, maybe put in a load of laundry since you're going that way already. So I've stacked a lot of habits, and I go to bed at 10:30. I wake up at 5. Most days I try to. I mentioned the 5.5-year-old and 3.5-year-old. They challenge the morning routine just within waking up in the middle of the night, which happens frequently. But one thing that I'm working on right now is part of that habit stacking is for the first 45 minutes of me waking up, it's shower, it's shave, and then I still do iron clothes. So I'll do those things between 5 and 5:45. But Stephen Clark over at our Yoder Construction challenged me in a way that now I'm waking up, putting headphones in my ears and listening to some type of content as I'm spending those 45 minutes getting ready. So that's a habit stack.
What kind of content? Just any content?
I'm still working through what that looks like, but it's primarily, you're going to love this, insurance pod. Yeah, really getting my mind going. I'm still figuring that one out. And then shower, and then I dig into a devotional for about 15, 20 minutes, spend some time in prayer. And then I'm out the door at 6:30, and I'm in the office at 7. And so from 7 to 5:10, I'm all in on work. That's my commitment to my wife, is that at 5:10, I'm heading home. And then I'm all in on the kids. And then at 9 o'clock, after the kids go down, my wife and I get together and we talk. We'll do a devotional. We'll talk about each other's day. We'll talk about the calendar coming up. And then after that, it's do whatever you want, but you're getting close at 10:30. So we don't watch TV at our house. That's one thing that we've sacrificed. We've given up. So we're able to get a lot more done, and we don't miss a whole lot. So those are just some habits that just guide my day.
How often would you say, and I'm thinking of myself when you were talking, but when work is on the mind, because I too, we don't really watch a ton of TV, and even people think it's weird, but even if I have twin daughters and my wife, and sometimes they may go out of town and visit grandma, and then I may be here, if I'm here and they're not here. Like TV, you'd usually think, Kyle probably sits down and watches a game or something like that. It's very rare.
Yeah.
And I'm weird in a way where it's almost like work or some issues are on my mind. And I'm a pacer. So I will pace around the house.
Oh, really?
If it's nice outside, I will pace around on the sidewalk or just thinking about things. Sometimes there's music in the background or whatever it might be, but I'm thinking about work and I'm thinking about an issue, and it's probably weird, but is work always on your mind, or can you get away from it a little bit and try to focus on, and maybe not having the TV on at night helps and you can focus more on being present as a father?
Yeah, I told Tim Lehman when he was interviewing me that I don't mind working nights. I don't mind working weekends, because I did that as a coach for 11 years, but I don't want to work all of them. My first 2 years at Gibson, I probably took 10 vacation days in total. And it's because I felt like I got 2 vacation days a week, Saturday and Sunday. So impact's on my mind all the time. To answer your question, what is impact to me? And it's things at Gibson, it's things in the community, it's things outside of the community. with the podcast that has a broader reach. It's my home. Because I don't have a ton of hobbies, I'm able to focus on what I consider the most important things in life. And I've defined the things of life that matter the most as my faith, my marriage, parenting, and then work. And then there's this big bucket of other stuff. My mother asked me, where am I at? I'm like, you're in bucket 5. So I prioritize my day and the things that I say yes to around those top 4. In each 90 days, I spend a retreat day. I get away from work. I get away from home. I spend an entire day reflecting on the last 90 days and preparing for the next 90 days. I grade myself in those 4 areas, those 5 areas: faith, marriage, parenting, work, everything else. And I reflect in those areas for quite a bit of time, 30 to 60 minutes in each area. And I journal and I grade myself out A to F. My last results was about a month ago. I had an A- in faith, a B+ in marriage, an A in parenting, an A at work. And then my other bucket, it was like a D or an F. And in that bucket was my board involvement. I'm on 2 boards. It was my friendships. It was all the other stuff. And I'm okay with that. So,
well, this gives you an opportunity to, I think that's awesome that you're putting it down and grading yourself and being your harshest critic. But then if you are a D in those areas or an F, then it is a way to say, okay, well, maybe next month I can improve upon connecting with this individual. Or if a board reaches out to you and says, hey, you want to be a part of this board, which now there's probably going to be several that are reaching out to you.
Well, this guy's a great board member. But it's allowed me to be real with my commitments. And I'm one that says if I'm going to be involved, I'm going to be all in. I was all in for a lot of ways, and I wasn't great at anything. If I were to look at my life, my work was number 1. Through back in 2024, had a few people in my life that had friends or parents pass away. The realization that life is so precious and what matters, what truly matters.
That perspective.
Just, you know what? I got to live my life in a way that focuses on the things that matter. I'm going to be intentional about it. And that's just a way that I've been intentional.
Yeah. Well, I know we're coming up against time here, but I do have to just maybe ask
feels like it's really long. Are you managing the time really well?
Well, I'm not. This is going to be like maybe a 2-part.
Okay. We'll do 1 part on mine, 1 part on your podcast.
I do have to get to just relationships. I think we'll finish with that. I think you've done really an exceptional job in terms of just building relationships. And from my understanding and just from knowing who you are as a person, you're not there just to build a fake relationship. I think the relationships that you have are genuine.
Yeah.
And your network is very large. It's expansive. And that obviously took time to build. So maybe coming to Gibson in early, 2020, 2021, whenever that was, what was your first step? Because there's probably a lot of people out there that say, I'd love to be able to grow my network too.
Yeah.
And Craig knows everybody. How does he know everybody? What did he do to build his network? And why do people know him? So what did you, I don't know if there's any tips that you could give people, and maybe that ties a little bit into, I know, social and LinkedIn and that type of stuff.
Oh, my goodness. What a big question. That is
maybe that's part 2 of this.
Oh, my goodness. Holy cow.
Maybe that's a teaser for another. Maybe just starting with just the basic of building relationships that are genuine, that are real, and you're not just out there like a lot of other people that they're just trying to sell you something. And it's they get a little turned off by that. But I get the sense that you're there just to build a relationship with someone and make it real.
Yeah.
Why don't you just sum that all up?
Yeah, I'll
30 seconds, and then we'll close out the Path Less Traveled podcast. All right? Floor's yours, as you say.
Hopefully we've got enough stories on the phone for this response. Kyle, I mentioned earlier that I spend time in scripture and devotional time in the mornings. And this morning it was in Luke 14, and Jesus was talking about service over status. Those that exalt themselves will be humbled, and those that are humbled will be exalted. I look at we are called to love God and love others first and foremost as believers, And so that's my approach from the very jump, is to love people. But when it comes to building a network, and the original question of at Gibson, stepping into that role and knowing that I work in a relationship business, I would meet with folks that had done this job that I do for a long time. And I was challenged by a couple in a respectful way of, nobody's going to help you out because you have nothing to give. I'd want to meet with some very established people, referral partners in the community, and try and get in. Like, nobody's going to give you anything. And that goes back to what my father taught me growing up is, Craig, if there's one thing I'm going to tell you, you're going to earn everything you receive in this world. So I took that as a challenge to, how can I grow what do I have to give? And I've got a lot to give. And what I did was I started do the things that everybody would do. They tell you to do. You'd have the coffees and the lunches. You go to all the events. But I did more than that. I would follow up with handwritten letters. Yeah. I follow up with handwritten letters. I try and I know who's at the event. Make sure I go talk to them. And I'm not going to spend 15 minutes with them. It's going to be 3 minutes. Just a quick hello.
You sent me a thank you card to an event that you invited me to. So I think that was made me feel... I was like, wow, Craig's sending me a thank you card to an event that he invited me to. So that's
the personal touch. There's something unique about somebody, and in a conversation, I'm not ready to just share my thoughts on a topic. Like, I want to know more. So I'm a very curious individual. I think curiosity collects valuable information. Noticing something about someone, wow, well, you've been working out, or like, hey, I really like the shoes, like the jacket.
Basically all the things that you said to me this morning.
Exactly, and you feel great.
Until I'm working out and shoes and the jacket.
So people want to feel heard and understood. Christopher Voss, Never Split the Difference. It's a book you should get, or anybody should get. Yeah. But people want to be heard and understood. They don't want to be sold. So I start from a posture of loving God and loving others. And by loving others, I got to get to know people. And I walk into a room, and this goes back to some of those personality tests that I've taken. Craig's tank gets filled when I'm around people. So I need to be around people. I walk into a room and I want to know everybody. I want to be friends with everybody because I want to make connections for people. When it comes to networking, I am a big time giver. Like, I am helping people. I'm helping people transition from one job to the next. I'm connecting them with people. I'm introducing people to other people. I am giving. Like, that is my deal. I give. I don't expect anything in return. And I know that it will come back full circle. But so that's my approach. And when you look at maybe some more tactical things that I do from a networking perspective, as I mentioned, I do a lot of handwritten letters. I invite people to things that I think are interesting and valuable and worth their time. I run a book club with 40 men in it. I wish all 40 would show up, but they've all signed up to say, I'm going to read a book. And that started from 2 years ago, where I was in a book club with 2 or 3 other guys. And I was just thinking, how can I grow this thing? So we're at 40 now. Wow. I'm on 2 boards, as I mentioned, the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Indiana Corridor and Oak Lawn. I run some networking groups, not just here in the community. Run one in Valparaiso, and I'm starting one in the city of Chicago. I run a podcast. This podcast.
Very successful podcast, mind you.
I'm in a small group at church. I volunteer at my church. I attend as many events as I can. And back in Q3 of 2024, for 90 days, Monday to Friday, most days I had a coffee and a lunch schedule with somebody. So I do a lot of things to build my network, but it all starts from this posture of giving. And then when it comes to LinkedIn, I'm a continuous learner. I'm always trying to find ways to add value to myself and others. I just thought, man, if there's 10 million people on LinkedIn, probably 8.5 million are consuming content. Well, I don't want to just consume. They're going to consume my content. So through the lens in which I post, it's, would my favorite client find this to be valuable? If that's yes, then I post it. I want people to see goodness. I want people to see inspiring content. I want it to help people think differently. I do a lot of things personally to make myself my best. I think I can help somebody else, again, from that giving posture. So throughout all of that, I've got a pretty deep network and a lot of friends that make walking to a big room full of people exciting to approach.
Yeah. And I know that's more or less probably the Cliff's Notes version, and you could probably go a lot deeper into both of those categories. But no, I think that's a great answer. And I think a big part that I'm understanding is it's really being very intentional with what you're doing and being disciplined and following the process that you put in place. And so I think that's a lesson for people to understand too, is that stuff's not going to happen overnight. I think we all want to have a vast network, and we all want to have a bunch of people that we know when we walk into a room, but that doesn't necessarily just happen one or two times or 2 or 3 events that you go to. There's a purpose and there's an intentionality to growing that, and it starts small and gradually gets bigger, and over the course of time, your network grows. I'm sure your network will continue to grow with some of those actions that you're taking. So, well, I appreciate this. This is obviously a little bit different than what we've done, and hopefully the listeners and the people that decide to watch found it interesting and getting to know a little bit more about you as a person and what makes you tick. And again, you could probably we could have made this a 2-hour session if we really wanted to, but timing obviously is an issue. Timing. I've already gone way over, but
I did task you with that. I said, you got to manage the 33 minutes.
You said, okay, got it. The answers were so good. What am I supposed to do? I can't just cut it off. I got to end it in a way that's a nice little teaser there.
Well, you said the word intentional, and if I look at my legacy, if I look 20 years from now, what would I want people to say about me? It's that I'm a very intentional individual. It takes a lot of work, and it's just like what I tell folks with marriage and just anything in life. It works if you work. A couple other things that come to mind real quick as we close out that I'd want to leave behind for some people is a couple areas of intentionality is I journal once a month. The plan here is to create basically a page for a month, and 12 pages in a year would make a chapter. Can you journal every day? Maybe not. But you can journal once a month, especially with AI. You can speak into it, and it can create this framework for you. And then after 5 years, you've got basically a book, or 10 years or 20 years. And what a great thing to leave behind for your children, for your grandchildren. So I'd encourage people to think about that. It's been something that's been a game changer for me. And then in the morning, the thing that holds me accountable with my devotionals is I basically carve up, highlight, write down. I mark up my Bible. And the plan is after 10 years to hand that down to one of my oldest kid. And then for the next 10 years, do the same thing for the next one. That's cool. To leave that behind. So just thinking of ways to build tradition, to have a lasting legacy. But this has been a lot of fun. I haven't had the opportunity to share all these things. You've got a lot of things going between the years when you're reading so much, you're consuming so much, and you're meeting phenomenal people. It's nice to get it out and actually prepare for something like this. So thanks for the idea, man.
Well, absolutely. And you've inspired me. I think this morning routine, I'm going to get back on. This is fantastic. So
if there's 2 people to connect with about a morning routine, myself and Steve Clark, R. Yoder Construction, that guy he's an absolute beast for a morning routine. So I'll connect you.
All right. Well, with that, we will conclude the Path Less Traveled podcast. We appreciate you listening. And
if you're still there.
And make sure you smash that subscribe button. All right. We'll talk to you all later.